What you become is the sum of what you repeatedly do. You don't become wealthy overnight. You don't become broke overnight either. Every swipe of your card, every ignored bank notification, every impulse purchase, every saved dollar, these aren't random moments. They're habits. And whether you realize it or not, your financial life is simply the reflection of them. This video isn't about complicated investing strategies or secret loopholes. It's about something far more powerful and far more uncomfortable. The truth that you are your habits. Your habits are the invisible system running your money. Think about your last 10 purchases, not the big ones, the small ones, the coffee, the subscription, the late-night order, the just this once. Now ask yourself, did you consciously decide each of those, or did they just happen? Most of your financial behavior isn't intentional, it's automatic. Habits are mental shortcuts. Your brain creates them to save energy. And once they're formed, they run in the background, quietly shaping your bank account without asking permission. That's why two people earning the same income can live completely different financial lives. One builds savings, the other lives paycheck to paycheck, not because of intelligence, not because of luck, but because of habits. Here's where it gets deeper. Your habits don't just shape your money, they shape your identity. If you constantly spend impulsively, you begin to see yourself as bad with money. If you consistently save, you start to see yourself as disciplined. And once that identity forms, it reinforces the behavior. This creates a loop. Action creates an identity. And once you buy into that identity, it leads to more action. You buy things you don't need. You feel out of control. You keep acting that way. You save consistently. You feel in control. You keep improving. So when people say, "I'm just not good with money," what they're really saying is, "I've practiced the wrong habits long enough that they feel like who I am." But here's the key. That identity isn't fixed. It's trained. A single bad financial decision won't ruin your life, but repeated daily, that's a different story. Let's break it down. Spending $10 a day on things you don't really need, that's $70 a week, around $300 a month, over $3,500 a year, and that's just one habit. Now imagine multiple habits working against you. Subscriptions you forgot about, eating out constantly, buying for convenience instead of value, ignoring better deals. Never tracking spending individually, they seem harmless. Together they quietly drain your future. This is how people end up asking, "Where did my money go?" It didn't disappear, it followed your habits. The myth of motivation. Most people think they need motivation to fix their finances. They wait for a moment where they feel disciplined, inspired, ready. That moment rarely comes, because motivation is unreliable. Habits don't require motivation. They require repetition. You don't brush your teeth because you're motivated. You do it because it's automatic. The same can be true for your finances. Saving money shouldn't feel like a big decision every time. It should feel normal, and that only happens when you build systems, not rely on willpower. Let's get practical. Not all habits are equal. Some have a much bigger impact than others. Here are a few that quietly separate stable financial lives from chaotic ones. 1. Paying yourself. First, before you spend anything, a portion of your income goes into savings or investments. Not what's left over, not if you can. First, this flips your entire financial structure. 2. Tracking spending without obsessing. You don't need to track every cent forever, but you do need awareness. What gets measured gets managed. Even a simple weekly review changes behavior dramatically. 3. Creating friction for bad habits. Make impulsive spending harder. Unsave your card details. Add a 24-hour rule before purchases. Avoid browsing when bored. Good habits need to be easy. Bad habits need to be inconvenient. 4. automating good decisions, set up automatic transfers to savings, automatic bill payments, automatic investing if possible. Automation removes emotion, and emotion is where most financial mistakes happen. 5. Delayed gratification. This one is uncomfortable, but powerful. Being able to wait, to not buy immediately, to prioritize long-term stability over short-term pleasure. That's a defining financial skill. You don't build habits in isolation. Your environment is constantly influencing you. If you're surrounded by ads pushing consumption, friends who overspend social media showing unrealistic lifestyles, it becomes harder to make good financial choices, not because you're weak, but because your environment is designed that way. So instead of fighting constant temptation, change the environment. Unfollow accounts that trigger spending. Spend time with people who respect financial discipline. Reduce exposure to things that make you want to buy unnecessarily. Make the right choice easier. Here's the part most people underestimate. Good financial habits don't just add up, they compound. Saving a small amount consistently, investing regularly, avoiding unnecessary debt. Over time, these don't grow linearly. They accelerate. The same is true in reverse. Bad habits compound into stress, debt, and limitation. So the question isn't, is this purchase a big deal? The question is, what pattern is this reinforcing? If your current habits aren't working, change doesn't start with a complete overhaul. That usually fails. It starts small. Pick one habit, just one. Maybe it's checking your account daily, saving a fixed small amount each week, cutting one unnecessary expense. Focus on consistency, not perfection, because perfection is fragile. Consistency builds identity, and identity builds long-term change. Money isn't just logical, it's emotional. People spend when they're stressed, when they're bored, when they're trying to feel better. So sometimes fixing your finances isn't about numbers, it's about awareness. Ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? Because if spending is your coping mechanism, no budget will fix that alone. You don't just need better habits, you need better replacements. Imagine yourself 5 years from now, not in a fantasy way, realistically. Same job, same general situation. Now ask, if I keep my current habits, where do I end up? More stable or more stressed? Because your future isn't decided by big moments. It's decided by repeated small ones. The version of you that's financially secure doesn't suddenly appear. They're built daily. So remember, you are not your income. You are not your circumstances. You are your habits. And that's actually good news, because habits can change, not instantly, not easily, but reliably. So instead of asking, how do I make more money? Start with, what do I repeatedly do with the money I already have? Because until that changes, nothing else really will. Your habits are writing your financial story. The only question is, are you paying attention to what they're saying?